Deshaun Foster's done it again. Another transfer commit, and now the Bruins rank in the top 5 in transfer portal class rankings? Let's go.
You are Locked On UCLA, your daily podcast on the UCLA Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to this edition of the Locked On UCLA podcast. I'm your host, Zach Anderson-Yoxsimer. Thanks for making this show your first listen each and every day. It's free wherever you get your podcast, and it's available on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe, download. Thanks for your support, your team every day. This episode's brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $250 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Go check out FanDuel. Where we get started today is UCLA has grabbed another commit in the transfer portal, a guy the Bruins were in on when he was in high school, but Rodrick Pleasant decided to go to Oregon. And what was unique about this recruitment is this is one of the guys who was not just a solo sport athlete. This is a dual sport athlete, somebody who is with elite speed, possesses elite speed, and is not only going to help the UCLA football team, but also the track and field team. So hence, initially went to Oregon. But after a couple of years there, still 3 years of eligibility left to play football, he comes to UCLA with a great track record, literally, and then some sparing use in the backfield, or defensive backfield, I should say, with elite speed. What does Pleasant bring? Remember, UCLA has a new DBs coach. They have already 9 prior defensive back commits, if you can count safeties, corners, already committed to UCLA in the portal alone. This is the 10th DB to now DBU, if you will, at UCLA. Of course, they don't possess that moniker, but DBU, UCLA has got another one. Now, I'm not sure. I'm not that intelligent. You guys probably already don't think I'm that bright. I don't think this kid is going to mix in right away in the backfield, right? He's not going to go sit there in the secondary and be like, okay, like what's going to happen? I don't know. There's so many moving parts. This is a little later in the spring camp. It's okay. But with his speed and his return ability, right? This is somebody who possesses elite potential to be a great returner for UCLA, like immediately. Like after the last couple of years, UCLA struggling to find a return game with Chip Kelly foregoing his best option in the return game. Deshaun Foster did go, all right, let's change things up. No, now they've got Pleasant. This is a guy who day one is your number one kick returner, your number one punt returner, all right? Even if those aren't necessarily, you put him back there and you give him the first shot, all right? Now, Mikey Matthews from Cal might want to say something about that, and you might lead Matthews as a punt returner, okay? The Cal transfer, one of the newest UCLA wide receivers. But Pleasant is that guy that can give UCLA some points. If you're worried about Nico, if you're worried about the offense, if you want to go change the game or flip the field, Pleasant is that guy in the return game, all right? Maybe he hasn't showcased that necessarily at the college level, but he's got that blazing speed that in the high school, he was one of the fastest runners in the state of California, broke some records in the 100-meter dash with wind legal time. So it basically means he wasn't aided by the wind. He is faster than the wind. He's gone with the wind, literally and figuratively. So you bring this kid in and you shore up a transfer class that you look up in the rankings, you're like, wait a minute. What's UCLA ranked? Now, depending on which outlet you use, you're like, okay, Zach, why am I looking at 24/7 Sports and I see UCLA is 20th? Or I go to On3 and I see UCLA is 22nd. Well, some of those outlets don't give proper rating to Nico Iamaleava, all right? This is UCLA who now has a bunch of transfer talent coming in. They brought in the number one player in the portal in Nico, regardless of the circus, regardless of everything. That is what he's rated. He is going to be an upgrade at the quarterback position from Garbers, from most likely Joey Aguilar. He is somebody that's going to come in and make UCLA buzzworthy and intriguing on offense. So you bring in Nico, the 5-star in the portal, although some outlets like On3 don't have Nico as a 5-star transfer, which I think is crazy if you're going to talk so much about him. Ironically, is P. Nakos, who talked so much about the Nico story. Their outlet doesn't even have him as a 5-star. So obviously rankings, yada, yada, yada. It's all mumbo jumbo. Here we are, UCLA. You look at the rivals rankings in the transfer portal. UCLA is ranked top 5, number 4 in the country, leader in the pack in the Big Ten, behind Texas Tech, behind LSU, behind Ole Miss. UCLA, with what they brought in, and including what they've lost, right? Some of these rankings don't even account for Joey Aguilar leaving just yet. They don't include some of the decommits. They do give some higher rankings to some of the linemen they brought in, some of the linebackers, but UCLA, with what they brought in, talent-wise in the portal, is doing big-time business. Like, this is what UCLA was doing at Chip Kelly, and Deshaun Foster's going after the high school recruits, making sure the local guys come back home. That's exactly what he talked about when he discussed Nico committing to UCLA. I want the local guys to come back home. Pleasant's another example of that, of UCLA going after guys who are local talent coming back home to Southern California after, hey, I'm going to go one place and then I'm coming back to Southern California. The difference with what Deshaun Foster's trying to do is he's trying to recoup the talent that Chip Kelly lost over his tenure at UCLA. He's like, oh, that's a Southern California kid. That's another SoCal kid that he's bringing back that could fill a role for UCLA now or in the next couple of years and be like, hey, we've got enough NIL to compete. You're going to have an opportunity and you're going to play close to home in big-time nationally relevant games against some of the biggest and best programs currently, traditionally. UCLA offers that opportunity, all while playing the backdrop of the best college football stadium, that is the Rose Bowl. All right, that is the Rose Bowl. So you bring in all of that and you start winning recruits back, saying, oh, this is a new vibe. We've got more fun, more buzz. The haters now, as Deshaun Foster would say. You mix in all of that, they're going after the talent, they're getting those guys back, and now from here on, they're slowly putting in the work. They've already put in the work, if you think about it, getting those guys who are local, not just, okay, West Coast, like in their own backyard, the talented guys from the LAUSD, from the Southern section, from the Boscos, the Mater Deis, the ones just in the northern part of LA, maybe in the greater nearby Ventura County area, all right? Like, one of the best quarterbacks in the 2026 class is in their backyard, and they could be in on it. Not sure with the recent developments of Nico and Madden coming to UCLA that's going to happen. But that's how talented California is, that the best quarterbacks available in next year's class are also mostly from Southern California or right around UCLA. And that's generally every position. Somebody in the top 10 is most likely going to be from California at every positional ranking. That's a general statement, but in Southern California alone, UCLA could just get so much better. So now Deshaun Foster's gone out, gotten what he's needed, a transfer quarterback. Actually, no, we're going to go get a better transfer quarterback with all the media coverage with that. Go get somebody else in the portal who can help in the secondary, who can help in the return game, help UCLA's track and field, which is a key part of this recruitment here. All right, it's not just UCLA football, it's track and field too for Pleasant, I would expect, for the dual sport athlete, the dual sport superstar. And then you bring in, oh, wow, we're going to completely overhaul the secondary with all these coaching changes, completely overhaul the coaching staff, upgrade at the offensive coordinator position, go with the young gun, go with the youngster, keep the Energizer bunny. That is Akaki Malloy, the passionate guy that's gotten UCLA to near equal from 2024 to the 2023 defense. And that's with arguably less talent on the D, not arguably, definitely a lot less talent on the D line and less plays being made in the secondary. And he still made them respectable. All Deshaun Foster's been doing is saying, hey, I can now equal Chip Kelly. I can go, while being not the biggest with words, not a man of words, not a vocal character. His actions are showcasing UCLA might have gotten the right guy despite Chip Kelly leaving them high and dry. Now, of course, the results have to come on the field. Absolutely. But what UCLA was lacking under Chip Kelly, that's what Deshaun Foster is attacking directly. All right? Just because he was on the previous staff, been a part of the last few regimes, doesn't mean he hasn't seen what's wrong with UCLA football and he knows how to attack it. He's gotten his time. He's put in his time. He's put in the effort, the recruiting, the relationships in Southern California, the relationships with the university, the NIL collectives, the athletics department itself. And now he is trying to make it happen and eventually turn this into a product that is dominant on the gridiron. And hopefully that's coming sooner rather than later. That all is dependent about the transfers, like the Nicos, the Pleasants, and everybody else that's coming in that we're not even mentioning right now. Deshaun Foster's attacking it head on and saying, let's go, bring on the haters. Next, we're talking the UCLA players that have already played at UCLA, already played in the Rose Bowl. The NFL draft again. Nobody was taken in the first round. Will we see a Bruin or two taken early in the second round? Let's kind of recap what's going on for UCLA and their draft potential in the NFL draft next on Locked On UCLA. Did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Wait. What did I say? Your Fire TV is also an Xbox. You can turn any TV into a gaming and entertainment hub with the Fire TV Stick 4K devices. You don't need a console. Grab a paired controller, subscribe or sign into your Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're already ready to play. You can go play EA Sports, College Football 25, Call of Duty, Black Ops 6. You can go stream your favorite shows, movies, all as simple as using your Fire TV. Let's talk about this. With portable gaming, think about this. High-quality Xbox games, fraction of the cost, and if you already have a console, a Fire TV Stick 4K is more affordable, and it's easier to travel. You're going on the road, you want to go play in a hotel, bring this Fire TV Stick 4K device, and you can play your games, your kids' games maybe, wherever you plug in your game. And all you need is a subscription and a controller. Hardcore gaming experience, let's bring it. Go on the road. Bring it. Head to amazon.com/FireTV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K second generation, Fire TV Stick Max with the 4K first and second generation, and Fire TV Cube, the third generation. All right, cruising on here in the second segment, we're talking NFL draft again. So no UCLA Bruin in the first night was taken of the NFL draft. All right, of course, it's not Latu. Latu led UCLA class. Maybe not some guys will get undrafted free agents. It's more night two that we'll see a couple of Bruins go off the board. Again, maybe it's Carson Schwesinger. Maybe it's Femi Oladejo. Those are the top two names that have been rising heading into the draft. Now, we can't forget Kane Medrano and the likes of Jay Tuia, amongst a couple other Bruins. But the latest mock draft I saw from ESPN included Carson Schwesinger, of course, the heartwarming story. You'll see him potentially in the early 50s, right? So you might see a couple of picks go by, some guys go around. So maybe in the second round, UCLA has their first guy go off. But then what I saw in the latest mock draft I was reading from ESPN was that, hey, by the way, you go from Carson Schwesinger, and then maybe a couple of picks later, it's Femi Oladejo. Now, we did see quite a few offensive players. Everybody's going to go look at Shedeur Sanders and be like, oh, when's he going to go? When's he going to go? As I've already said, and I will reiterate here, UCLA has some value picks. They're not the first rounders. They're not the headliners. But if you're like, man, you're seeing a good defense with some sneaky rookies, some sneaky good second-year players if you project a year from now, Schwesinger, man, oh man, that's a guy you want in this middle round, in these middle rounds, in the middle day of the NFL draft. At a bargain deal, not having to go early in the first round, okay, I understand. A late riser in his college career, but he's somebody that could immediately impact the field if you're some sort of NFL team. I don't know who it might be. Maybe initially in the first round, I saw a Field Yates projection that he might go to the Rams in the first round. Well, obviously that's not what happened, but somebody could rise to the occasion and say, hey, this is a talent that is workable, that can play just about flies all over the field in Carson Schwesinger. And then you mix in Femi Oladejo at the edge. You're like, okay, those are guys that could go back-to-back if this is a defensive-heavy couple of rounds in rounds 2 and 3 on the middle day of the NFL draft. Now, if they're slipping to the last day, those are super bargains, and I think it's a disappointment that those guys would have slipped to the last day. I don't think anybody would let that happen to Schwesinger or Oladejo. But that's something that could happen to Kane Medrano, and he's equally as important to the UCLA defense as Schwesinger and Femi once he started figuring out the edge were to the UCLA defense this last year or two in some occasions. Heart and souls of the defense, wherever they might go, and they're starting to go. Of course, everybody's going to keep their eyes on, oh, yes, Travis Hunter can play both ways. Yes, he goes. Ashton Jeanty going to the Raiders. All right, Cam Ward going first. Well, remember that UCLA defense that made Cam Ward look foolish when he was at Washington State? You know where some of those players are right now? Available in the NFL draft, like Kane Medrano. Oh, Femi, he was a part of that UCLA defense. Carson Schwesinger having to work his way up. He was still a part of that team who dominated Cam Ward. Now, some of those plays were made by Latu. Latu, as dominant as he was, leading to the UCLA victory back a couple of seasons ago in 2023. But think about it. The number one overall pick who then went to Miami and eventually projected to be the number one overall player based on his fit at the quarterback position for the Tennessee Titans. Some of those players who dominated him in college on the UCLA defense, that was one of the best ever in program history in 23 and sneaky good in 24. They're right there. They're right there for the taking. All right. Now, I'm not sure if they're early second round selections, late second round, maybe early third round, although I'd hope that these guys get picked earlier to good franchises in good situations and get more top dollar, more bang for their buck on their rookie contracts. So we'll see how it plays out for Schwesinger, for Medrano, for Oladejo, Tawia. All right. Then it's a sliding scale as to, all right, we'll see where the rest of those Bruins go once the draft goes and maybe a couple of undrafted free agents here and there. But Schwesinger, you know they're going to talk about it. You know they're going to play the heartwarming story. You're going to hear the word walk on 30 billion times every time he plays a game in the NFL and every time his name is brought up with an NFL draft story. If they can milk the coverage for the first round, imagine what they do when his name comes on the screen. You know they're going to focus on his story, and it should be told. It absolutely should be told to all the kids who are working hard, realizing we're not in a spot where we think we could be right now, whether it be in life or in sports or in school, and Schwesinger should be an inspiration to all. But you know that the coverage is going to overdo it and just again, as they should, but they're still going to overdo it. So we're going to enjoy it when it happens. All right. Cheer on your Bruins in the NFL draft, and we'll see how that plays out. And we'll see where the best fits, and maybe even talk about that here on Locked On UCLA. Speaking about best fits, UCLA women's basketball is trying to replenish their roster after 6 players at the portal. Some of the best players available in the portal have already recommitted elsewhere. They've found new homes. Barker to Tennessee, London Jones to USC. Are the Bruins going to get Gianna Neepkins? Is there someone else? Maybe both that they're looking at? We'll talk about that next on Locked On UCLA. The NBA playoffs are here, and FanDuel's giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. How? Right now, new customers, when you join FanDuel, place your first $5 bet. You'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Again, FanDuel makes betting super easy. Let's talk about it. Whether it's picking your favorite team or diving into the player props, think about this in the NBA playoffs. From three-pointers to steals to assists, maybe you're thinking, all right, I'm going to get this right. FanDuel has so many ways to bet your favorite player props. And even after the game tips off, you can combine your live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance to win big. Don't miss out. Head on out to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. Cruising on, final segment for the Locked On UCLA podcast today. Of course, the big news, UCLA continuing to do work in the transfer portal on the football side, as that window in the spring is now getting ready to close, I think by the end of April 25th. The women's basketball, the men's basketball portal, the basketball portal is closed, but decisions can still be made. So even though the window is closed, you can throw your name in there unless you're grad transfer or your coach leaves for some reason or another. Basically, these players are still making decisions, and a lot of them will. UCLA is hoping, searching, willfully praying, or whatever it might be, to figure out how they can get Gianna Neepkins to UCLA. All right? Now, she is one of the bigger names, and maybe by the time you watch it, she's already committed to the wherever it might be, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Texas, and UCLA. Those are Neepkins' top 4 spots. She's taken official visits to all of them, including UCLA, her last destination, and that decision should be coming soon. She's a top 10 prospect in the portal, top 10 prospect in the WNBA draft coming up in 2026. A scorer, a tall scorer, an elite shooter who can do just about everything on the court and represents what UCLA is missing to go along with Tamia Gardner, another shooter. Now, Kiki Rice will have to improve from range, in addition to all gas gabs, Gabriela Jaquez. And Gardner will shoot the ball as well. Not sure how Billage can shoot it at the college level. And we'll see if Sienna Betts has any range. I wouldn't think so, considering Lauren Betts does not. I would expect UCLA, with their heavy recruitment, I've seen potential of Neepkins leaning South Carolina, but if the Bruins can close the deal, that is huge for this, all right? Texas has lost one of their best players to the portal. You have South Carolina, who lost Full Wiley to LSU. The Bruins have lost London Jones and Janiah Barker. If there's a spot open on a team destined for greatness, and you want a 1-year stopgap, if you're Neepkins, UCLA is the spot. UCLA is the spot. Maybe it's not going to turn out to 25 points per game, all right? Maybe you can go do that at South Carolina or Texas. But UCLA is a depth spot where they need you in Los Angeles, and they're already, for the majority of the season, the number one team in the country where they have a need where Neepkins could absolutely fill that. Where UCLA is also recruiting is Corey Close might be going back into the international recruiting game after being pretty successful with Elena Arnosalo. This is where on 3 reports that Hila Karsh, I could be saying the name wrong, Hila Karsh, an Israeli product, is got 3 finalists in her recruiting. All right, Duke, UCLA, and Purdue. And now Duke, pretty good season last year. Purdue, another team in the Big Ten, and there's UCLA. The thing about Karsh is she's a 20-year-old guard, 5'8", averaged about 11 points per game, 3.5 rebounds per game in the FIBA U20 Women's Eurobasket, all right, playing for Israel. Overall, shot 39% from the field in 7 games playing with the Israel U20 national team in the FIBA Women's Eurobasket. You can say that 20 times. Scored 23 points in 38 minutes against Turkey in one of her best games. What's unique is obviously the 20-year-old coming would still represent 4 years of eligibility. Now, would she stay all 4 years? Who would know? Is she somebody that you would stash at the back of the roster? There's still a lot of unknowns here. If Karsh decides to come to UCLA, does that mean Neepkins is not? Well, there's quite a few spots that UCLA has left to fill on their roster. So you could still get Karsh as somebody who's got 4 years of eligibility, immediate eligibility, a veteran player, an older player, while you could also get Neepkins, another veteran, older player, and bring that veteran savvy, while still newer to the UCLA system, to a roster that needs depth, that needs players, quite frankly. You lose 6, UCLA, they're only bringing in 2 right now. There's still a lot of spots to fill for the Bruins at premium spots. Now, I'm not sure if Karsh is right away the option to go to for shooting the ball, if she's going to take over Elena Arnosalo role as a backup point guard because she challenged for starting minutes. Can she shoot the basketball and jump to the starting lineup and play a London Jones role? Those are things that would have to develop and be figured out, although older than Arnosalo, basically would be a junior-leaning senior year right now if you go based off an age thing. And remember, being older, I believe she can get to the WNBA faster if that's how her prospects project. I'm not sure she is that elite number 1 talent coming out right away. Otherwise, you would have seen all the South Carolinas, all these other teams probably going after her. But Corey Close has a reason for going after Hila Karsh alongside another Big Ten rival in Purdue and Duke. So you know there are some interested folks in this talented individual. I'm just not sure if this means success now, in the future, or is this just like, all right, we need bodies now, and you'll play next year, because the Bruins have a super senior class. They don't have a lot coming back. They don't. After Lauren Betts, Kiki Rice are gone. Gabriella Hake is gone. Tamia Gardner, right? You're going to start to lose some of these players. Even if you get Neepkins, you're still going to need another player to come in. UCLA lost their entire freshman class. So getting somebody who can stay for more than a year, while also being a bit older, would I think be a unique get for Corey Close. Now, if you want to play right away, I think Purdue would be a great spot. I'm not sure how Duke would rank in those options for Karsh. You certainly wouldn't just jump right away, I would think, in this lineup and go play 35 minutes a game. Not when UCLA is potentially on the verge of getting a Gianna Neepkins. I'm not sure that's guaranteed if it's crystal balled. Some teams have already got some of the biggest players in the portal, and it's time for UCLA shot to go from top 3 in the preseason rankings to the preseason number 1 like they were after the season when they still had all these projected players to return. So look out for Karsh, who might go to UCLA. The Bruins have a lot of spots to fill. And then Neepkins, because maybe one does not stop the other from coming and committing to UCLA. Neepkins is the big-time immediate fix. Karsh could be more of a long-term player after the Bruins graduate a super senior-heavy class that will thank a lot for taking UCLA to their first ever NCAA Final Four, and hopefully by this time next year, celebrating a national championship. But until then, we'll talk more spring sports in our next Locked On UCLA episode over the Monday. If anything breaks over the weekend, we'll talk about it here on Locked On UCLA. Hands up, Bruins fans. 8 clap time, baby. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. UCLA. UCLA fight by fight. This has been Locked On UCLA. Zach signing off. Go Bruins.